Coming in live, a 757 House Whisperers show. Thank you guys for listening in every Wednesday night from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. This is Chuck Worley. I am the founder and host of the 757 House Whisperers show. I have created this show to help the 757 listeners fix their house. Not only I've helped several people fix their own houses, just kind of a public service announcements on here. I know about 2 weeks ago we were helping a guy do his crawl space, which I'm sure he's not going to want to do his friend's crawl space after doing his, because that is not a fun job. But so we like helping people help themselves, and then of course we also like it when you call us and we can help you get your house problems solved. So I'm a building science, I call myself a building science geek. There's not much about a house that I have not fixed or seen fixed or, I hate to say it, about 30% of our business is redos. And, hey, I talked to you 3 years ago, and, yeah, I heard everything you said. I mean, you lined everything up with the science of what's going on. But, I went with Bubba and Skeeter, and I've been paying ever since. So, there's good contractors out there, and I've done a great job surrounding myself with good people. I feel like winners are attracted to winners. So I've surrounded myself. I know pretty much, 90% of what's going on in a house, but I don't think that I'm the smartest man in the room at all times. So what I've done is I've surrounded myself with great contractors and, even more importantly, great people. Most of these guys I've known, heck, Mike Davenport for over, 30-some years. He knew me before Chase was born, so Chase will be 30 in November. So that's a long time. So Mike Davenport, I'll introduce a couple of my co-hosts tonight, but me and Damien are going old school tonight. It's you and me, baby.
That's right, solo-ish.
That's right. We got Julie in the background smiling. So since she makes me smile every day. So it's nice that she's over here. I can peek over there and she makes me smile. But hey, so we are down here at Dominion Tower in Norfolk, and here to create a great show for you guys to educate you on your houses. And as me and Damon have done since the early 2000s, I'm not sure y'all will have a good time tonight, but me and him will. Yep. Right?
Guaranteed.
So let me finish introducing Mr. Michael Davenport. He owns CVP Custom Vinyl Products, or Windows and Doors, CVP Windows and Doors. He is the only manufacturer, I am 99% sure this is facts, not the only manufacturer in Hampton Roads that makes his own windows and puts them in. So that is a great window to have when you actually have the place. If it wasn't built right, they're right here. You don't have to go to China. You don't have to go to Guatemala to pick up windows. They're right here in our backyard. So we are putting in a whole bunch of windows in our remodel that he is helping me with. Albin Co. Speaking of the remodel, with Albin Romstrom with Albin Co. He is a remodeler, builder. He actually owns East Coast Truss, which pretty much does any kind of truss system. He can build it from scratch. So very talented guy and extremely educated in the building of a house. We have Cindy Rawl with Alpha Pest Solution. She is our what'd she call herself? The killer. The license to kill. Yeah. So the only woman in Hampton Roads with a license to kill bugs, that is. So to Jack Keller with Legacy Painting. He's our young buck of the group. He is a fantastic contractor at 23, 24 years old. He's got 5, 6, 7 guys working for him. I'm really proud of him, and I edify him all the time because I know what I was doing at 23, 24, and it wasn't running a almost $1 million company and with 5, 6, 7 employees and working his butt off. He missed the show a couple weeks ago because one of his trucks broke down, and I was like, dude, these are big world problems. Like, I'm so proud of you for taking the bull by the horns, man, and just running your own company. And he does just a quality product. He's proud. He's on his own job sites. He's got crews that do stuff, but he's on the job sites. A lot of these big painting contractors are too big for that, and you'll never see the owner. They'll hire a salesman, and so it is nice that he is on the job. And then my buddy Justin at Pyramid Roofing. He is a fantastic guy. He is very entertaining. We call him the entertainment of the group. So he is absolutely fantastic. And last but not least, I am Chuck Worley. I own Worley's Home Services. What home services includes is HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, if you did not know what HVAC stood for, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulations, spray foam insulation. There's not much about a house that we can't do. But as I said, I wanted to kind of expand. Now, me and Damon go back to the early 2000s on the Ask the Expert shows, where it was just focused on one thing. It was focused on heating, air conditioning, maybe a little ductwork. But as I noticed, some other calls came in asking about other parts of the house. And that's where I got this idea, was just to kind of, invite people to call in about any questions about their house. Now, you have my full attention tonight with heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, crawl spaces. That is my mantra. That is my magic. I want to give you guys an opportunity to call in at 627-7979, 627-7979. Call in while I'm bumping my gums here. Call in while I'm kind of introducing the show and everybody. Call in now with any questions, heating and air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulations, insulating attics, spray foaming attics, what's any kind of question about building science. As I said, I am a building science nerd, and there is not much that I have not seen in houses. I have seen some wild. Have we not seen some wild stuff? I mean, from just people cutting out joists to, I've got a picture. I got to post that one on Facebook. I haven't posted it for a while, where they had this 3-foot attic space, and it was beams, rafters that are engineered rafters, right? So they have 4 really big, important beams going through the middle of this rafter, perfectly. So if it's 30 foot long, it's 15, it's 10 foot, like it's perfectly designed in a computer, and then you put it in. So what the guy did, because his air handler didn't fit, he literally cut the center beam 2x4, just cut it out, 6 of them, right in the middle of the house. And then what he did was he hung the air handler from the rafter.
The same one he cut?
The same one he cut.
Oh.
So, you have the A-frame, right? So the A-frame's at the top. You got the ridge vent across the top, right? So you got one 2x4 going 3-foot 2x4 from the top of the A-frame to where the studs go across, right? The joists or beams go across in the attic. So you got one from the A-frame going straight down to the 2x4, perfectly made, engineered rafter. And he literally cuts the 2x4 that's 3 foot long. He cuts 6 of them out so he could fit his air handler inside of that. I mean, how that roof was even I'd say I'm getting out of this attic. Like, this is
it didn't
insane.
fall yet.
And he said he did it like 7 years ago. So I'm like, bro, Jesus loves you. Like, you're still alive. Like, talk about it. You ever seen a house rack, like, go on YouTube, and it's like house racking, like house, falling. Like, that is like right in the middle of the house, the main structure of the house. It's crazy stuff that we see.
Now, was that an old house?
It was about I'd say 30-year-old house. Okay. So but he did an air handler that, it didn't have air conditioning, right? So he added air conditioning. But anyway, I want to remind you again, 627-7979. We do have 3 trivia questions. So you typically every week I try and give you a silly one, but who did Hulk Hogan beat for his first WWE title? I won't give it a year because y'all are cheating and look it up. Who did, and we all remember him. And as soon as the name is said, you will remember. I'll even give you a hint. He had funny shoes. He had funny boots. Funny boots. So if y'all don't get that, y'all just didn't watch WWE. Not that I watch it a lot, but everybody loves Hulk Hogan, right? So football starts tomorrow. What year did the Colts move from Baltimore to Indianapolis? I'm sure we got a couple Colt fans in here. And then in January 31st in 1980, me and Julie just found a sign symbolizing this. What local city did the Olympic flame begin its journey to the X111? 13, right? Right? 13th Winter Olympic Games. And I want to know if you know the city that it ended in. So local city it started in, and there's significance to that city. It ended, I will give you a hint, north, which is hundreds and hundreds of miles away. I did not realize how many miles that they do that torch across the country. But it was weren't you surprised by that, Julie? I mean, I don't know how many miles it was, but it's up north, and of course it's winter, right? So it's cold state. But we started here in a local city and went north. What city did that Olympic flame start in? Which you had actually saw that it came from Greece, right? I mean, do they keep that thing hot?
Actually, I was reading about it, and the sun actually lights the torch.
The sun lights the torch. How cool is that? So, but those are our 3 trivia questions. Call in before everybody else does. 627-7979. I want to tell you guys about a new coffee shop. I told you I was trying to get away from Starbucks, even though I drink there too much. We got a friend of ours, a customer of ours, Deborah Carroll. She is actually a customer of Worley's. Her husband worked in the shipyard with me and recognized me. But AKA Lady Carroll, Deborah Carroll, in Port Warwick, she owns Busy Nothing's Coffee Shop. And that is where your coffee gift card is coming from this week. I am trying to find people that come over from the south side. I am trying to find a small coffee shop that I can help to support and kind of have a win-win relationship with. But so if anybody knows of a great coffee shop on the south side, because I know some of the south side people don't come to the peninsula people don't go to the south side. I drive that bridge tunnel way too much, but it's but anyway, that's what we're looking for. And before we get on our first call, we do have a couple calls coming in. That number again is 627-7979. I do want to ask for Cindy Rawl, our pest control. She is looking for miscellaneous labor, like somebody, young kid that wants to get into the construction business. She can train them to do pretty much anything. Of course, you can't be scared of crawl spaces, but I mean, she's a lady, and she's going in these crawl spaces. So anyway, anybody looking for a job, or nephew, or cousin, or sister's brother, whatever, is anybody looking to get into the trades, she is a pest control. She can teach them how to do pest control, clean out, stuff like that, and then can actually help him get certifications in the pest control world, which of course involves, you can make some pretty good money. So anybody that knows, please call in to the show, 627-7979, or text me at 757-955-9415. That text message again, 757-955-9415. Just text me and I can get you in touch with Cindy. Let's go to the phones. We got a couple phone calls, and let's go to Charles in Moyotte. Hello, Mr. Charles in Moyotte.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I've got an interesting one. I just want to see if I'm right, and I'll take your expertise as the answer. So I got a buddy with a townhouse out in Kempsville, crawl space, back in 2018. He had it inspected because he believed there was moisture underneath, and sure enough, they ended up coming back. It's a fairly reputable company. They've been on the radio here, and it was a $23,000 quote. Fast forward to a month or two ago, now it's a $40-some thousand quote. Now they wanted to put two sump pumps around, dig lines around, and clear it up, clean it up, and all that good stuff. So I'm One, has the prices gone up that much in materials or labor in order to necessitate that, or you think damage is that much more? And two, he wants to put new windows in before he does this, and I'm telling him he's crazy and going to have problems if he's doing that because it's sinking in the corner and whatnot. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I'm wrong.
I will not tell you either. So when you start building a house, you don't start with the roof. Right? What do you start with?
I agree.
The foundation. It always starts at the bottom.
Foundation.
You have to do the foundation first. We're doing a big remodel, which I keep mentioning in the show, because I'm a homeowner too. Like I'm trying to explain to these people, like not only am I in contracting, but I'm a homeowner also. So I deal with the same stuff that you guys do when I'm fixing my house. So I do want to comment on one thing. One of the reason that you're calling in is actually to help a friend, right? I admire that. I think that is fantastic. And you are proving my point. When someone calls in and asks a question in this show, you're not just helping your friend, you're helping hundreds and hundreds of people that are listening with the same type of problems with their house. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this show was kind of a public service announcement for our neighbors to kind of help people. Look, you have a place to come. You have a place to call. We're going to give you honest opinions. Some people agree with me. Some people don't. But we've been doing this for a living for 30 years. I do laugh because, like I said, I've got some NASA engineers that are a lot smarter than me, but I've been making a living fixing houses for, 25 plus years. I think Mike said he just had his 50th year in construction, which is pretty impressive, man. He's even a Virginia Tech guy. But I thank you for calling in to help your friend, because this was my brainchild of how can I help more than one person at a time. I'm in houses every day helping one person at a time for the last 25 years. And I said, man, how can I do more? How can I serve our public? How can I serve Hampton Roads? And I said, man, if I go on the radio, I got hundreds, I got thousands of people listen to me. I help this one customer with one question, and I'm helping hundreds of other people at the same time. And then you're calling in just to help a friend. So I wanted to compliment you on getting more. Just, hey, don't just believe me. Let's ask a guy that does this for a living, right? That
right.
I have
listening right now. I told him I was going to call tonight.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah. No, that's great. Hey, you have a very good friend in Mr. Charles. That is a good friend to do that. I don't mind coming out and taking a look at the house for you, but I think you said it was a townhouse.
It's a townhouse.
Yeah, there's I mean that thing's got to be racking like the house I was talking about earlier for $40,000. Did they include a heat pump?
It's rough. It's rough. It was It was two ditches, as I understand it, or two gullies around it with sump pumps in both sides, the front and the back.
That's
apparently
significant.
It was wetlands at some point.
Okay,
that happens.
That
new
happens.
Insulation, fixing some boards, all the way up. There's some black mold in there and whatnot. It's got to be remediated.
Well, some people use the scary tactics and stuff. We don't do that. I'm gonna come out. I'm not gonna spend all day there. I'm gonna go underneath the house. I'm gonna give you an assessment. I'm gonna give you pictures. Say, look, this is your house. This is the date and time stamp I took it. This is your house. This is your problems. Here's my solution. And I have seen $20,000 solutions for crawl spaces, just depending how big they are or how much damage is done. If I just did some subfloor repair to my personal house, so it does go up. But that's significant. That's significant.
It was just nuts that it had doubled in price. Now he did say there was a little sponginess in some of the subfloor on one of the areas because the moisture is just beating it up really bad. And still, back to the point, I said he's nuts for putting windows in first. I'm like,
no, that's crazy. That you need to run. Yeah, no, your friend is doing you a great favor. Do not put windows in, because I'll tell you my own story on my own house. I was pulling down some sheetrock to put some siding, or actually pulling some siding down and putting it back up. And when I pulled the siding down, there was nothing to nail to. Like I couldn't even, I had to reframe the whole daggone underneath of the house, and all the moisture was coming up from the crawl space and hitting this. Now, of course, now I'm encapsulating it and have a 1936 farmhouse and all the joys of that. So it's, and when these older houses, you just got to fix them up slowly.
Yeah, my other fear was that it's been sitting there. It's a rental that's been vacant for a while. And my fear, I thought, I was like, dude, you need to have the moisture checked in the dang on drywall on the floors above since you haven't kept power onto it or whatnot. You can't leave something sit to the nature. I bet you got mold up in the drywall.
Yeah, that can happen. And that can be tested. I mean, you don't want to scare them to death, but I mean, but yeah, if nobody's been taking care of it for years and years, I mean, yeah, you just need and I'm sure Mike got all your information. I want to get you this coffee shop gift card to you for calling in, because I do appreciate you calling in. Like I said, you're helping other people at the same time asking your question. But number one thing that we want to get out of this call, Charles, do not put windows in before you fix the foundation.
Roger.
Because it's just going to fall. The windows can fall out. So.
I mean, and you're going to have to probably cut them if the daggone thing is some. You're going to have odd cuts, which you should not have to do. I'd be afraid of the glass cracking if it kept sinking even more.
No, 100%. You are 1,000% right. All right, well, let me roll. We got a hard break here at 6:30. Thank you for calling in again, Charles, and we'll send you that gift card. 627-7979. Call in while the break is on. 627-7979. We got a couple more callers. Get on the list. Let's go. This is Chuck Worley again with the 757 House Whisperer Show. Calling in. I want you guys to call in 627-7979 to have your answer or your questions answered about problems or symptoms of problems that you're having in your house. If you call in, we got about 30 more minutes left, so call in now so I can get to your calls. 627-7979. I'm going to get to Mr. Scott in a few seconds here. I want to remind everybody of the trivia questions and remind you also that Miss Lady Carol, Deborah Carroll from Busy Nothings Coffee Shop in Port Warwick, we are sending y'all a gift card to her beautiful shop. It is really, really nice place. If you haven't been to Port Warwick, you need to go there anyway. Trivia. Who did Hulk Hogan beat for the first WWE title? I even give you the hint. In 1984. Football is tomorrow, so I wanted to bring in a football question. What year did the Colts move from Baltimore to Indianapolis? Made one city sad, one city happy, and then Ray Lewis, I think, came and made them happy again. Wasn't that right? So in 1980, what local city did the Olympic flame begin its journey? What local famous city did the flame begin on the journey to the, was that 13? Yeah, 13th Winter Olympic Games up north? You got to come up with a city that the Olympics was in, the 13th Olympics, so Winter Games. Cold place, because it's winter, right? Winter Games. So what city did it end up in, and what city did it start in? So those are my three trivia questions. Let's go to Scott. Remind you again, 627-7979. Call in with any questions about any problems in your house. Mr. Scott.
Hey, guys. Good evening.
Hey, thanks for holding on through the break.
Not a problem. I got to start off with, I'm absolutely horrible at trivia, so I'm not even going to attempt to try to answer any of those questions.
The funny shoes didn't even so you know who Hulk Hogan is, though, right?
Yeah, yep, I know who Hulk Hogan is. Yep.
Yeah, so if you didn't watch him in the beginning, he had a guy that was from another country and really played up, but had funny shoes at the end of his boot.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. And actually, the character he played was from another country, but he was actually, I believe, from Minnesota.
You know what? I think you are right. Yes. He had his background was from another country, I think.
Right,
so,
yeah. So I'll leave it at that for definitely somebody who's a wrestling fan. But that's what I remember
Colts?
back when I was a teenager.
What about the Colts? You not a football fan?
I'd have to say probably around 89. I'm not sure.
That's a good guess. That is a good guess.
And then if I had to guess about I'm pretty sure it was Lake Placid.
It is. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. So you don't know the city that it started in?
Well, it always starts in Rome, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, but from the local city that it started in.
Yeah, that I'm not sure. I was living in Boston then. So
okay. So Lake Placid, you got half of it. We'll give you a half a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Just say Richmond. We'll just say Richmond.
All right, you're close. It's between Richmond and Virginia Beach. That's okay.
All
right, so what's your question here? It looks like you got an insulation question.
Actually, yeah. I had what I affectionately call the barn built in my backyard. It was a 16 by 30 building, put on concrete piers, built in the backyard for my wife. Made it into an office for her, working from home now type thing. Had it, sheetrock done. Had a mini split put in. Lights. The whole works for her.
It sounds like you love your wife, and she should thank you for that she shed.
Yeah, absolutely. So the only way to keep her for 30 plus years
that is a good start. That's a good start.
Yep. So as part of the contractor, Class A contractor, I work on the road every day, so I'm not home. Evidently, the project was done in the backyard, of course. My wife was working out of one of the bedrooms in the house. But in the contract, it was done to where insulation was supposed to be put into the walls and into the made ceiling, just to kind of, regulate temperatures and things like that. I know it was hot summer. It seemed to be where it could not get cool enough to the point where it should be, 16 by 30, so it's only 480 square feet. The mini split should be taking care of it, which led me to, was there actual insulation put in? And outside of knocking a hole into a wall, is there a way to check to see if there's insulation without having to take, and put a hole in a wall?
So to answer your question, not really. There are infrared cameras that you can get. I think there's an app on your phone. It's like an infrared app. And I mean, you should be able to use one of those free apps, cause you really, when it's really hot outside and you got it cranking inside, it should be obvious, those temperatures. You're going to have heat coming in through those walls. It can be as hot as 90, 100 degrees sometimes, especially if there's no insulation, because the sheetrock's not going to reflect the heat that well, right? So you said it was siding, so, but you could tell where there is insulation and where there's not insulation by the different temperatures on that. But aside from really, cutting a small sheetrock.
And Chuck, might be able to take off the receptacle cover over the electrical?
You could do that,
and see if
but
there's
you're still
any
not. I mean, you should be able to see some
if there's there.
Yeah, some insulation, like the fiberglass, maybe sticking through there, but I mean, there could be none that you can see through there.
That's what's going to be my question is, if I took off an outlet cover or something, could I see something? I tried to take down a can light to look up there, but I wasn't able to do that.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Damage.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure about that. Maybe sticking my camera up there with the flash on, taking a picture.
You could do that. You could do that.
But I didn't know if there was any. I'm not a building type person, so I figured I'd call the experts.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately, you don't. I always say. Going back to the Reagan days, I'm 55, so I vaguely remember those days, but I do remember one quote that was very famous: "Trust but verify." So that's why we have happy checks after all of our big installs, where we have either me personally or one of my QA guys. We got guys getting older, longer in the tooth that can't be rocking every single day, but their knowledge is unbelievable. So we're utilizing them to kind of do QA and make sure we're keeping our standards high. I call them the chief standard, being raised by a senior chief CB. But you have to unfortunately check behind contractors to make sure that they're doing what they're doing if they don't self-check like we do. So I think it's very valid that you could put your phone up in there. If there is a lot of insulation stuffed into that wall, if you pull off the receptacle cover, I honestly think you would be able to see some insulation. You shine your flashlight up in there. If there's not, there is potential that you won't see insulation, and there is insulation there. So the really only real answer is the one you don't want to hear, and that's just cut a small hole. But that gives you peace of mind, right?
Right.
That gives you peace of mind.
Well, absolutely, which leads to the next question as far as if there isn't, calling the contractor. So
that's going to be a fun conversation, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, but you know what? If it's, I'm not saying we are perfect. Stuff has gone wrong on jobs, and you have 75 employees. Somebody may have a bad day, right? So
Sure. Stuff
does go wrong, but I think the difference between the good and the bad contractors are the guy that will go back and make it right. So, give them an opportunity to do that. But if you don't have good experience with that, then you're probably going to have to call us to come out there and fix it for you, because you don't want a air conditioner just to run nonstop.
But Chuck, what is the solution? If somebody else is listening and they fear that there is no insulation in their walls, do you have a solution so they don't have to re-drywall the entire home?
That's a great question. You should call into a radio show with the 757 House Whisperer.
Oh, I've heard of one.
That's a really good question. So we can do this thing called dense packing insulation, where we actually drill a 2 to 3 inch hole. I think it's 2 inch hole, and we run a hose down. We do it at the top, run a hose down to the bottom, and actually fill the cavity with dense pack insulation, cellulose, so you can do that. We have an older home, so that was what I was thinking about doing, and my contractor, old Albin, went crazy with his sledgehammer, and I was like, okay, let's just pull that plaster down. So made it easier decision to we're going to actually spray foam flash coat it, and then insulate it. So, because R15, I think, is the new codes. So, but I guess this guy didn't pull a permit, because you should have had a framing inspection and a insulation, mechanical, heating and air. You should have had some inspections going on, especially if you had electrical out there.
No, we went and there was permits pulled.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign. It might be that it was just hot as blazes. What is the tonnage of that air conditioner? Do you know?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
I do not.
If you want to text it to me, it's 955-9415, 955-9415. If you want to call me or text me or call me and the nameplate on the outdoor unit, and I can tell you if that thing's big enough. It should be 1 ton, should be enough, but if it's like a 9,000 BTU, that just might, on the hottest days of the year, it's just not going to keep up. So
it's not keeping up, yeah.
So let me grab these other calls. We got a couple calls coming in. Thank you again for calling in, and we're going to get you that gift card. The phone number again is 627-7979. We are going to go to Neil. If you could hold on for a second, we will come up with you next. Actually, let's go to Neil now, because I got Tony on the line, who's a great customer, who's a good friend of mine that really had a bad experience. We're getting ready to come up on the winter, fall season, so people are going to start turning on their furnaces. And his story is about carbon monoxide. And I got to be honest with you, it scared the crap out of me when he was telling me the story, because people do not realize how many people, it's less than 1,000 of people a year that die from carbon monoxide poisoning, but thousands, and I mean tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people across the nation go to the hospital with carbon monoxide poisoning. So I really want to talk to you all about bumping your heaters, getting the furnaces on now before the winter hits and we get busy and so you don't have to wait. But he's got a great story. Tony, please hold on. I'm gonna go to Neil real quick with his question, and then I'm gonna ask Tony to kind of tell his story. Neil, go ahead.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I have live in a condo in Virginia Beach. Have my room over the garage. It's very hot during the day, and was wondering if the ceiling in the garage can be insulated or not. It's a finished ceiling.
All right. Can you repeat that one more time? Finished ceiling in the garage.
It's a finished ceiling in the garage, and my bedroom gets very hot in the afternoon. And I was wondering if that's because the heat rising from the garage has to do with, my room being very hot.
Yeah, so there's so the biggest problem with that's a great question. Thank you for asking it, because you're going to help a lot of other people with room over the garages, because they are a nightmare to heat and cool. So the biggest problem is, of course, or one of the problems is the one that you mentioned, is heat rising through the garage. Absolutely a big issue if there's no insulation in there. That the only way to really find out is to bust that sheetrock, because you did say there was sheetrock, right?
There is sheetrock.
Okay, yeah. So you'll have to cut out the sheetrock to see if they insulate it. That is not code in every city, I don't believe, to absolutely insulate that. People get away with it all the time, or they just cover it up with sheetrock quick. But there is a way that you can insulate that. I have spray foamed, but unfortunately with that you got to pull down the sheetrock. So if you don't care about the aesthetics of the attic, or excuse me, of the garage, I have spray foamed that. The other option is the dense packet, which is what I was talking to other customer, was that Charles? Other customer about was dense packing that area. So it basically fills up the place with insulation so that infiltration of the hot air cannot infiltrate into your room over the garage. The room over the garage, the reason it's such a nightmare is on your second floor, there's only one attic on a normal second floor, right? In a room over the garage, you have three attics. You have a knee wall on the right, knee wall on the left, and an attic above it. So now that one room has to overcome three attics in the upstairs apartment, room over the garage. So the biggest return on investment is spray foaming those sidewalls and insulating above it, because that's where your heat is leaving and entering into your space. So
I'm wondering if it would be cheaper to do that than to get a portable AC unit or not.
I don't know that it's cheaper than a window unit is obviously the cheapest thing, but I could come by and have one of my guys come by and take a look and give you some options on insulation versus maybe a mini split up there. But I do got to get to this next caller. We had everybody call in the last 10 minutes of the show. Thank you again for calling in. Hey, let's go to Tony.
Got it.
Sorry, Chappie, can you hold on for just 1 second or 1 minute? Go ahead. All right, this is Tony Denza. Did I say that last name right?
Hey, of course you did not. After 15 years, you think you get it right.
That's why I call you Tony D, baby.
That's what everybody does, right? Yeah, Tony Jettle.
That's right, Jettle. All right, Julie was right. I was saying it wrong. All right, to one of my favorite customers, Mr. Tony. We met, probably 20 years ago in the B&I chapter on the Peninsula. You had taken over B&I, and you always heard me talking about carbon monoxide, but you really take me seriously now.
Yes, yeah.
So I want to remind people to call in and bump their heaters on before the heat gets here, to bump your heaters, especially gas heaters, before the winter actually gets here, because you don't want to get into this situation. Now, we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left, so sorry for the quick at the end here, but please kind of tell about how dangerous carbon monoxide can be.
Yeah, so I'll give you the Reader's Digest version about what happened to us. It was December 10th of 2018. And we had a snowstorm, and I live in Gloucester, and we lost power. And normally when I put my generator on, I put it away from the house like it's supposed to, 25 feet. Well, this time, for whatever reason, I put it right underneath my kitchen window. I put a towel in the track thinking that would keep the fumes out. Or actually, you don't smell nothing. So fast forward a little bit to, that was Sunday night. Tuesday morning, I woke up really sick, and I couldn't walk. And my wife got on the phone with her daughter and explained what happened. And let me tell you what carbon monoxide does. It takes away all of your reasoning. Whatever you do does not make any sense to anybody else, but it makes complete sense to you. For example, I had a headache. I put some aspirin in my hand. I couldn't hang on to the aspirin. It fell on the ground. So instead of my thought thinking, what's wrong with me? I just dropped the aspirin. My thought was I got to get the aspirin before the cats get it. That was one thing. So then I hop back in bed, and the worst thing.
And so what that's called is CO poisoning, right? Is that what they described it to you as, carbon monoxide poisoning?
Yeah, the human body only has 2.3% carbon monoxide in it. When you get from 10 to 30, you're going to get symptomatic about some things that are going to happen to you. My wife and I, and anywhere from 30 to 90 could be fatal. So my wife and I, when
I do know a fireman cannot come into your house with CO above 30 or 35 CO. They're not allowed to enter the house when they're in a rescue. They have to have their mask on.
No. They had the masks on, and they opened the doors. So we couldn't, at that point there, I couldn't walk. They had to carry me down the stairs, and they took my wife. They had 2 ambulances here. They took us away, and come to find out there was 40% carbon monoxide in our house and in our bodies.
Wow.
So they told us if we stayed in the house for one more hour, we would have died.
Wow.
So here's my advice. So if you're ever going to light a generator off, make sure it's 25 feet away from your house, not near any open windows, because you don't smell it. And once it hits you, you don't know what's happening to you. You don't have any reasoning. Another thing, when I knew the EMTs were coming, my thought process was, well, I have to feed the cats. And I did. I got up and I fed the cats, and then I crawled on my hands and knees back to the bed until the EMTs arrived at our door with their gas masks on, ambulance outside. They brought ventilators inside the house, aired it out for us while we were gone. And
what was the meters up to? What did the meters get up to?
40% on us.
Oof. So, but I think you told me it was 200 or 300. I can't remember the unit of measure. I just lost the
parts
unit.
Per million.
Parts per million. Yeah. How many parts per million?
Yeah, parts per million.
What was it in the house?
We had 40% carbon monoxide in the house. That's all I know. I don't know what the parts per million was. Right. But we were at fatal levels in the house, and it was in our bodies. And while we were at the Riverside Hospital, it took 8 hours to sit there and get direct, 100% oxygen for 8 hours to get our blood levels back down to 8.3% where we could go home.
Wow. And it's really 2% is what it is in our bodies, right? It's supposed to be?
2.3% is normal range.
Well,
and they let us go when we had under 10.
Well, so when you have carbon monoxide, of course, generators are obviously a big situation. You hear so many stories of people putting them in their garages and the leaks through the door. I mean, that is definitely a serious situation. The temporary generators are the worst for this story. Cracked heat exchangers in your furnace. Water heaters with flue pipes not connected properly. I can't tell you, I went up in the attic the other day. The guy had a 3-inch pipe that wasn't connected, and it should have been a 4-inch pipe going out the roof, and it was literally blowing into his attic. I mean, it is, right. You have to, when you have gas products, you have to have a specialist like Worley's Home Services come in, do an inspection on carbon monoxide, checking your heat exchangers, make sure we're not getting carbon monoxide in your house. Tony, thank you for sharing your story. I am really grateful for you taking the time to call in and help our listeners. So,
really quick, generators are so dangerous that the carbon monoxide coming off a generator is worse than a car.
Oh, wow. That's great. Hey, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story, Tony. Bye-bye.
The preceding program was sponsored and paid for by Worley Home Services, who's entirely responsible for its content.